Welcome back to another episode on the Secret Ones podcast, where we discuss beauty, fitness, food, and everything related to health and wellness, including mind, body, and spirit. So today on the mind and spirit, health and wellness topic, we're going to be talking about a relationship dynamic that I've been seeing. A lot of feminists might not like what I have to say today. As you guys know, when I feel called to say something, I'm going to say it, even if I got to it out. One of the biggest threats to connection that I hear from women is that they come to their partner with a need, with something they're hurt by or something they want to change, and it's immediately met with defensiveness. We've got a lot of intense and interesting energy going on with the vibration of the planet speeding up, increased solar energy, and solar storms hitting the planet larger than anything we've ever seen. And we just had a June full moon on the summer solstice, which symbolizes a powerful shift and a portal opening. We also have Saturn retrograde and Neptune retrograde, which are all about reflecting and deep contemplation. Saturn is the planet of karma, discipline, and lessons. So this marks the time when we take responsibility for our actions and the lives we want to live, instead of blaming others for our unhappiness, and put structures in place to keep us in a good karmic state. Neptune is a planet of illusion, dreams, and fantasies. So this brings us a reality check that will reveal many unwanted truths. We are no longer able to view life from delusions and rose-colored glasses, but this reveals a sometimes harsh reality that will enable us to see things clearly and make required changes. We may be triggered a lot during the coming months, but the bottom line is that there's so much extra light pouring into the planet that it is illuminating everything we're keeping hidden in the shadows, whether that's knowingly or unknowingly, and we can no longer ignore these things that aren't working. So things are changing, and if you try to continue living in the shadows, things will change for you. How many of you have heard of the term a wounded inner child? A lot of us grew up with caregivers who may have had the best of intentions, maybe not, but most of them generally they did the best that they could. But because they too had a wounded inner child, they raised us in an environment where their own wounding got in the way of who we were while we were growing up in our early developmental years. To grow into healthy, happy adults, we needed to feel emotionally connected to our caregivers. We needed to feel loved, valued, to be accepted for who we were. Our feelings needed to be respected and validated. And most importantly, we needed to feel safe and secure physically and emotionally. And we needed to feel protected. And when these needs went unmet, we began to believe that we were flawed. We abandoned our true nature, hoping to get love and acceptance elsewhere. And over time, we developed unhealthy behaviors to avoid the feelings of shame and low self-worth that were created by the wounds of physical and emotional abandonment, neglect, abuse, and rejection. And these unhealthy behaviors followed us into adulthood. If we didn't experience healthy boundaries, some of us became enablers, letting partners, friends, and family treat us badly. Others grew up as people pleasers, needing approval. Because our need for love and approval didn't get met, we may often feel empty, looking for love outside of ourselves, only to find out that the emptiness never goes away. Even with the right partner, career, and everything we think we want, what we've done is we've separated and disconnected from our true essence. And this feeling is actually our desire to reconnect with our true self. The only love and approval that can really fill us is the love and approval that we give to ourselves. Men, the more afraid that you felt around your dad as a young child, the more life stress, insecurity, and struggle to emotionally protect your woman that you'll project as an adult. And here's why. You looked up to your father, and when you didn't get that emotional connection with him, but instead got criticism and anger, that made you close your heart. And you then jump up to your head where you could create this personality to cope with the pain of feeling inadequate. Very defensive and aggressive, or very passive and nice. Hypersensitive to criticism, or very agreeable. These are all very stressful states to live in because your mind is working overtime. But your woman and your children will then sense the same emotional safety and presence missing from you that you sensed missing from your father, unless you decide to heal that pain by going inward. When she asks him for basic respect and affection, he may accuse her of wanting too much, being ungrateful, or even criticizing him. But the real issue is that his unhealed childhood wounds that he's been avoiding his whole life. He was heavily criticized by his father and didn't receive much affection from him. And until he heals that, he'll never be able to pour into anyone emotionally because he's too busy needing the woman to pour into him. Approval, knowledge, achievements, money, these things will take priority over connecting with her because he needs those things to soothe his wounds of inadequacy. He forces his woman to live in constant fear of offending him. She has to exert an incredible amount of energy censoring her words and hiding her true feelings just to avoid triggering him and making him angry. The process of repressing her heart does physical damage to her body, damages her mind, and can even kill her. All she wants to know is that you care enough to listen to what she's saying and to respond with love instead of defensiveness and seeing her as an opponent. But if you haven't healed your childhood wounds, you're looking for evidence that you're not good enough, which is why you perceive her request for connection as a criticism. Instead of just letting her speak, the man is the one making it an argument every time because he's just assuming that she is. As soon as she says anything, he immediately gets angry. So then it turns into an argument. If your girl says something to you in a non-confrontational way, you can bet she's not trying to argue. If she wanted to argue, then she would just allow you to continue to act the way that you're acting. She's bringing it up so that it can be fixed because she doesn't want things to be bad. If she's talking to you, it's to make things better. It's when she isn't communicating when you need to be concerned. There's a huge difference between a conversation and an argument. And if you never let the conversation happen, then you're constantly just mad because she's bringing anything up, then it's going to be an argument every time. When wounds and traumas are triggered, it alerts the part of the brain called the amygdala, which is a small almond-shaped structure in the temporal lobe that's responsible for processing emotions. It is the fight or flight activator when your brain perceives a threat. So you are perceiving what your partner is expressing for whatever reason as a threat, and it triggers your amygdala. And the amygdala says, okay, it's time to either fight or run. He might be trying to convince her that she's wrong for needing that, or that he already meets that need, or that need's kind of extreme or ridiculous, or that he didn't really hurt her. She just read the situation wrong, or he wouldn't have done this if she wouldn't have done that. And what this does every time it happens is it erodes the feeling of security in the relationship. She's going to become less likely to come to him with any of these things, which means that he's missing out on opportunities to care for and to love her better. It also means that he's eroding the trust in the relationship. She's only trying to connect with him, but she has to hide or downplay her own needs while looking after his because she knows that he'll get defensive. Over small, petty disagreements, he's willing to withdraw his love or give her the silent treatment instead of having a mature conversation about it, which also kills the relationship. But when a man heals the chaos, rage, and neglect of his childhood, he moves from using his woman to wanting to see her flourish, from wanting to argue with her to wanting to protect her. He can finally feel her love. But Kat, why does she have to act so emotional? It's because she probably tried logic already. She probably tried to be soft. She tried to be gentle. She tried not to scream. She tried not to cry. And through all of that, you still looked at her like she was stupid. You still told her everything she just said was wrong. You still dismissed her. And this is a result of that action. Kat, why does she have to act so controlling? First, let's look at the ways that you're controlling her. She's constantly suppressing her natural state of feminine emotional expression. She's over-functioning to compensate for you under-functioning. So more than likely, she's given up everything she likes to do, and she can't say anything around you for fear of your reactions. You have to recognize that her need for control stems from the relationship feeling like it's out of control. She doesn't want to be your mom. She doesn't want to tell you what to do. She doesn't want to play that role in your life. The current dynamic for you two is what's causing this response in her. If you're acting in immature, hurtful ways to try to manipulate her and get the response that you want from her, this could be a factor. If you're lying to her, if women are intuitive. If you're hiding things from her, from time to time, she's probably acting in ways that appear controlling. But her controlling side is coming out because she's trying to survive living with you. She's being controlling because she feels chronically disconnected and unsafe. She will lose her need for control when she feels safe with you. When a man acts out of his wounded perspective, this changes her in every way, but he's too busy looking at the ways she's changed and blaming her and saying, nope, this isn't what I want, to realize that he caused it. Then what happens is the amygdala starts firing and he's seeing his current situation as a threat, and that activates his fight or flight. And the man will run from the problems that he creates within the woman. When he first met her, she exerted confidence, radiated positive, loving, and healing divine feminine energy. She wasn't nagging or trying to control his behaviors or being insecure. But then he got her and he started neglecting her and he started disrespecting her. He started not being a man of his word and making her second guess everything that he does and everything that he says. And now that she's turned into a person he doesn't like being around, he leaves and abandons her. And this is where the cycle of damage, wounds, and trauma turns into an endless spiral. And women, I know you got some healing to do too. I'm getting there. Men, understand that women are not the ultimate source of your pain. All she's doing is revealing what's broken in you. Let's be honest, it's easier to make her the crazy one over facing yourself. What fuels her pain isn't the unrealistic expectations you think she has. She's hurting because she wants an authentic connection and you want her to leave you alone. She's pulling her hair out because she doesn't know how to get through to you. And what she's attempting to communicate is fair. She's saying, I want connection with you and I don't know how to get it and I'm losing my mind being with you. You won't change if it's motivated solely by her initiative for you. It takes finding clarity within yourself to create lasting change in your relationship. If a man learns emotional intelligence, he can make his woman feel incredible, emotionally safe, and valued. She knows she can talk to him about anything, even if it's uncomfortable for him, and still be held in his safe presence. If he doesn't learn this, then he forces her to walk around on eggshells around his easily triggered defenses, and he deprives her of the beauty of being able to relax into her feminine nature of expressing emotions. Instead of feeling playful and free, she now feels rigid and restricted. So let's look at this from a woman's perspective. Imagine having a partner who ignores you when you talk to him, especially about how you're feeling, and when you wait for what feels like forever in silence for a response after you just poured your heart out. All he can come up with is, I don't know what to say. Imagine having a partner that will sleep like a baby while you cry yourself to sleep. Or worse, maybe you're up sick all night because of the emotional trauma and stress he's causing, and he just sleeps through it. A lot of women become over-functioning because they've never been with a man who truly has his life together. Some women buy the house, the car, make sure the house is clean, make sure the family's fed, pay the bills and everything else. How many women do you know had a man who paid a bill for them? And I'm not talking a $50 dinner tab. I'm talking about paying a legit like car insurance bill. Not many. Women in our culture have become so accustomed to being the providers, having their own place, their own car, and being the more responsible party in the relationship, that they don't know what it feels like to trust someone to take care of them. They're only familiar with men trying to use them. What's the point in having a man around if she has to do everything herself? And that is why so many women choose to be alone. This culture is full of women who are forced unnaturally into their masculine. Women are constantly in grind mode and constantly doing everything on their own. Her being in her masculine energy is a defense mechanism because she feels like she's always on edge. If she doesn't make it happen, nobody else will. So until a man can prove that he can protect, provide, lead, and be her peace, her energy will remain the same. And too many men are going into relationships with the mother syndrome, expecting a woman to do everything for them like they're a kid. A healed man is supposed to make a woman's life easier, not harder, is going to take weight off of a woman's shoulders and not add more on them. She is your partner, not your mom. A woman who's always thinking about everyone else's needs, even though she feels exhausted and unappreciated inside. is usually stuck in a trauma response to a childhood where she was forced to play the strong one. Maybe she had parents who neglected her, or perhaps a parent actually had special needs, which caused her to step up and be the caretaker instead of being the child who needed cared for. This sets her up to be drawn to emotionally unavailable men because they provide the opportunity for her to put her needs last and to keep playing that character. As a little girl, she was taught that in order to be loved, she has to give up her true feelings and opinions or she would be guilt tripped. So she became a pleaser, a perfectionist, an overthinker. As a child, she learned she had to put her own needs last, not express her truth. So she thinks to love someone means to sacrifice her needs, and to be loyal means to tolerate disrespect or even abuse. And this makes her unable to see red flags, and she is now the perfect match for a wounded man, where she can cater to his unmet childhood needs, try to fix him, or play mother towards him. She then feels depleted and resentful because he cannot pour back into her emotionally, and his love is conditional. Men and women are just not the same. Men are physically stronger and can emotionally cut off easier, which is why historically they've always been the providers and protectors of women. It does not make them superior, but it adds a profound beauty to our partnership, because only when a woman knows she's safely contained within the walls of his home and doesn't have to worry about physical security can she tap into her natural strength, which is her feminine essence. A relaxed woman can fill the home, him, the family with so much love, lightheartedness, connection, to keep that beauty of this model going where both genders get to complement each other's strengths. Men need to step up because the biggest threat to women is no longer physical security, but emotional safety. As a man, if you're often angry or defensive with a woman, you're literally eroding her femininity. And if you're emotionally withdrawn, you're still breaking her heart. Women mirror the state of their man. So if he's treating her like an opponent, he becomes the cause of her losing her radiance. But if men heal their traumas, they can become not only physical, but emotional protectors, a place where a woman knows she can be fully herself and he won't be defensive or collapse. So, what can men do to start to heal themselves and heal the pain that they've caused their partners? First thing you have to do is forgive the person who caused your pain. Oh, that's hard, I know, but trust me on this. If you had a hypercritical father who didn't show much affection, you have to see your father as another man who more than likely has the same wounds that he's inflicting on you. Most likely, he is the way he is because his father was like that with him. And once you heal yourself, this actually has the power to heal ancestral wounds that date back generations. So you can then energetically heal your father, grandfather, and every ancestor who may have suffered from the same wound in the past. The next thing you can do is pay closer attention to her emotional needs for safety. A woman needs to feel seen and heard. And when a man listens and holds that space for her, that allows her to feel safe within the container of the relationship with that man. Women's highest core values are safety and connection. She will feel unsafe if he lacks integrity. If he says one thing but does the total opposite, she will slowly but surely lose trust in him and his word. He faced a lot of criticism, so he likely developed a habit of saying things to please others. So it's important for this man to mean what he says and do what he says he's going to do. And he can start by making small commitments to himself and keeping his word. The more able he is to commit to himself, the more able he will be to commit to a woman. Next, start making plans, taking initiative, taking charge in a healthy way, which allows her to not have to be in the masculine all the time. If you hurt her and you know it, don't wait for her to tell you how to fix it. Take the initiative. Say these phrases. I'm taking care of it. I'm in the process of getting that done, and I'll have it done by this weekend. And then, by the way, you have to do it. How can I help? What do you need from me right now? I'm taking responsibility for my actions, and I'm committed to being a better partner. Here's how I'm leading us forward. This is what I'm planning, and this is how I'm going to do it. No need to cook tonight, babe. I've got dinner. I'm bringing it home. All of these phrases, all of these ideas come from a masculine frame. They come from decisiveness. They come from devotion. They come from prioritization. Start communicating more clearly. Even when things get hard, step in and have those conversations instead of avoiding her and shutting down. You can seek out a male support group. I literally can't go online without seeing videos and ads. If you can't find one, you're probably not trying. Validate her emotions, especially when it's a situation where you've caused her pain directly. First, you're looking with her at the situation, so you can drop your defenses and explanations. While she's talking, listen without correcting facts. As she shares, you're going for the emotion she's attempting to communicate to you. You just need to be able to articulate how the situation made her feel. And what she felt is not good, bad, right, or wrong. It just is. So just get clear on what the emotion was that she felt. Good. Now the next part's hard. You can't fix anything that you did to hurt her. Validation is opening the loop of her emotional experience, getting into that loop with her and not trying to close it. Let her express everything. Wanting her to only express positive emotions to you invalidates those other emotions associated with the state she's in because you feel uncomfortable with them. So if she's angry, if she's sad, let her express it and let her be passionate about it. Because one thing about those two emotions is that the healthiest way to communicate that is to a safe place. Someone who knows her, has context. Now, she might get heated, but at the end of the day, you're the only person she can go to with this. Or she doesn't want to talk to someone else about it. And how's that going to affect your relationship when her friends are telling her you deserve better than that? That's what you're there for. If she cares, she's going to get passionate. If she's not, she probably doesn't care that much. And if that's what you want, then watch what kind of you have to deal with when it comes to a woman who doesn't care. She wants to be felt. She wants to be understood. And that's what validation looks like. And additionally, you need to learn how to control your own emotional state. If a man's triggered and reactive and takes everything personally, a woman is going to start to close her heart, shut down, and suppress her natural expression. She's going to become bitter and resentful. Your job is to be the rock that can remain grounded, present, and calm in the eye of the storm. So if you're a man that struggles to get your emotions in check, start challenging yourself physically and see how much weight you can lift. How much discomfort can you embrace in your body without becoming overwhelmed? Stop antagonizing her. Stop trying to win. Your relationship is not a competition. She is not another man that you're trying to be on the field, on the court, or on the golf course. There is a beautiful, radiant, loving, generous, sensual woman who you are trying to beat. My ladies, what can an overfunctioning woman do to heal her wounds? The same forgiveness rule goes for you too, ladies. You have to forgive whoever it is that inflicted your wounds. Whether that's your mother, father, both, or another caregiver. You also have some past relationships you need to practice forgiveness on as well, since you probably have a pattern of attracting men who need help. And they're suffering from deep wounds they themselves have to heal. A woman who's healing her wounds is growing into a space of trust. Trusting herself first, and then and only then is she able to trust a man because he's leading himself and therefore can lead her. Begin by trusting yourself and having trust in the universe, God, and the divine order of things. You have survived 100% of your worst days. Look after yourself, increase self-care, and take things at a slower pace. Understand that the potential you see in him is really the love and care you see in yourself. It's the way you treat others when they offer you their emotions, needs, and vulnerabilities. And it's the way you crave to be treated too. The overfunctioning woman is so good at seeing her underfunctioning partner's potential while they blind you with immaturity and selfishness. The potential you see in them keeps you stuck in false hope that soon they'll become the evolved man that you need. It keeps you in fantasy about the day they offer you emotional maturity, consideration, and engagement. This false hope is how you tolerate actual reality with them. It's how you make do with their breadcrumbs and tell yourself that maybe soon it'll be a feast. It's how you take another deep breath and hope that maybe this talk will go well. It's also how time easily slips through your fingers as you keep hoping tomorrow will be the day that they get it. But before you know it, years have passed. If your partner was telling you that they aren't feeling seen or understood, you would immediately want to change your ways to help them feel better with you. So you wait for them to want to change theirs to help you feel better with them. If they were to tell you with genuine tears in their eyes that their love for you is fading and that they want nothing more than to feel close to you again, you would stop everything and want to figure this out with them. So you hope that this is how they'll respond. Don't cling to his potential, but rely on the generous love that's actually available to you every single day. The overfunctioning woman tends to be a shock absorber for her emotionally dysregulated and underfunctioning partner. Knowing they won't manage their emotions with maturity or self-awareness, you try to do it for them. But in doing so, your self-respect gets muffled. They've proven to you when left to their own devices, they'll immaturely throw blame, anger, victim posturing, and silent treatment your way. Their emotional outbursts are a miserable experience for you, so you try to avoid them. While they're busy being offended and defensive, you're left feeling emotionally unsafe, misunderstood, alone, invisible, and hurt. Your feelings and experiences are completely lost in the swirl of their tantrum. Regulating their emotions for them creates some short-term relief for you, but this Band-Aid does nothing for your wounded heart. They've become dependent on you to do their emotional work for them. They know that you'll figure out what they need to do and do what it takes to ensure that their needs are met. They know that you'll put them first, even if it means you come in last again. Now, if they choose to blame, deflect, tantrum, or shut down, then you choose to disengage unless and until they can offer you calm maturity. And how you feel about something matters. What you need to feel safe and secure with them matters. Never forget that you deserve a relationship with someone who would never want you to be their shock absorber. They respect themselves enough to show up as a mature, regulated adult, and they respect you enough to actually give you this. The overfunctioning woman is incredibly frustrated by what her underfunctioning partner doesn't do. They don't do what they said they would do. They don't make decisions. They don't initiate heartfelt conversations. Their passivity and avoidance reinforce your urge to do it all. Because they're not doing all that it takes to fulfill their part in the relationship, you've stepped in to compensate and pick up their slack. You make the decisions. You remember all the things. You bring up the hard topics. Every time you remind them, they don't have to remember on their own. Every time you make the decision, they don't have to decide. Every time you speak up, they can stay quiet. Overfunctioning dupes you into believing that the more you do for them, the more likely they are to realize how hard you're working and decide to step up and change. But the reality is the more you do for them, the less they need to do for you in the relationship. And part of your healing work is to step back from doing so much for them and create space for them to step up. It's also about giving them the space to experience the natural consequences if they decide not to step up and function well in the relationship. Let them sit with your disappointment and missed opportunities. Let them forget things. Let them struggle. What they do or don't do with the space is entirely up to them. Maybe they choose to grow and become a well-functioning partner. Maybe they don't. It's not your job to forward them articles and reels about how to become a better partner. That's their job. Your job is to see if and how they seek this information and decide if that works for you. It's not your job to make sure they don't throw temper tantrums. That's their job. Your job is to see if and how they choose to regulate their emotions and decide if that works for you. It's not your job to make sure they don't cheat. Your job is to see if and how loyal they choose to be and decide if that works for you. It's not your job to teach them about the bare minimum of being a healthy, functioning partner. It's not your job to find a way to make them listen to what you're saying. That's their job. Your job is to see if and how they choose to listen and decide if that works for you. It's not your job to pry their thoughts and feelings out of them. That's their job. It's not your job to pull their weight in the relationship. That's their job. Your job is to see if and how they choose to pull their weight and if it works for you. Your task is to step back and let them decide what they naturally want to do. Let their actions do the talking, and then you courageously assess if what they're doing works for you, because your focus is no longer on what they're doing and not doing. It's on what you do with what they're doing and not doing. If both partners can identify their wounds and triggers, instead of going into an endless spiral of triggering and coping, you're able to witness what's going on and come from a place of love to get back on track whenever a trigger throws you off course. None of us are easy to be with, and we all suffer from something. So when you meet someone who's willing to stay committed to understanding you and actually wants to grow with you, don't let something silly like ego and pride ruin it. Be honest, be authentic, and always think, feel, and move from a heart-centered place of love. Ask yourself what solution is in the highest and best interest of the greater good, and then act from the answer you receive. If you can't hear your divine guidance, it means you're still beating the drum of the problem and not the solution. You can't focus solely on the problem and arrive at a solution. That only amplifies the problem. You have to tune your tuner to be a match to the frequency of the answer. And if you need help learning how to tune to your heart's messages, go and watch my video called How to Tap into Heart Wisdom. I'll put the link to that video down below. If you like to read, go and read these 2 books I'm going to recommend right now. The first one is called Your Brain is Always Listening by Daniel Amen. This book helps you to discover what dragons are making you sad, mad, nervous, or out of control. You identify them and then you learn how to tame them. It's a quick read and it's easy. And then the next book that I'm getting ready to recommend is called The Gene Keys. And this one is not a quick read. This one right here, look how thick this book is. It's a really complicated book. So the idea behind the gene keys is that within your DNA is a unique genetic code, all of which are made up of 64 gene keys, which also make up everything in the universe. This book helps you to understand and tap into them to heal and fully embrace your true and highest purpose. Well, I hope you love this video, and I hope this information helps you in your human ascension journey. And if you have any topics you'd like to see a video on, feel free to write me and let me know. Much love.